Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live Communicating with Confidence. Have you ever walked away from a meeting thinking, I wish I'd said that differently, or I wish I'd spoken up? So many smart, capable people struggle to communicate with confidence. And that's not because they lack ideas, it's because of the pressure, the self doubt, or the overthinking gets in the way. It's not unusual to feel nervous about speaking up at work, in meetings, or even in social situations. You are not alone. Confidence in communication isn't about being loud or perfect, it's about being clear, authentic, and impactful, and allowing yourself to be comfortable being who you are. And over the next 25 minutes, this is what Sarah and I will be discussing. So before we start, and just in case this is the first time we're meeting, let us tell you who we are. My name is Maria Newman, and I help my clients to face their challenges so that they can overcome them and lead a balanced life. And this is Sarah.
Hello, everyone, and it's great to be here, Maria. Thank you for inviting me along. I'm Sarah Naylor. I'm an executive coach and mentor and businesswoman of many hats. But on my coaching side, I help clients navigate the personal, the professional, the spiritual, and everything sort of in between. Because at the end of the day, we are one person, and all of these areas impact our life in one way or another. So I work very much with mindset to help my clients achieve the goals, the outcomes that they desire. That's me in a nutshell. That was short for me, Maria.
That was very good for you. I was very impressed.
Thank you. It's all about communication today, isn't
It
it?
is all about communication. So let's get straight into it. And first of all, I want to address, why does speaking up feel hard, even when actually you know your stuff? And I'm going to kick this off by talking about one of my favorite, I was going to say people, it's not really a person, part of you, which is it's the inner critic that might pipe up, and that's not because they're neither good nor bad. The inner critic that we have inside us is just trying to keep us safe. They're trying to stop us from failing, from making a mistake, from people judging us. And so, in those moments where we're going to walk into something that might make us feel uncertain or awkward, the inner critic finds that as the ideal opportunity to say, oh, do you really want to do that? And I encourage those who work with me to name their inner critic, because the inner critic, as I've said, is they're not you. So when you name them, it's a way of divorcing them kindly from yourself and knowing that voice, those thoughts are not yours, and therefore you can do with them what you want. Mine is called Vera. She's a lovely little old lady. You know, she embodies the name that Vera, I think, conjures up. And when she starts chatting at me, I listen to what she's saying just because it's telling me what I'm frightened of. And then I give her a cup of tea and a biscuit. I ask her to sit in the corner and she can come back when she's ready to be helpful. What do you think, Sarah?
I love that analogy. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, that we have these two voices inside our minds. Of course, we do, and it's about recognizing that that is the fact and creating an understanding that you can differentiate between them. So by giving them the name Vera or any other name to your choosing, I've heard other people have used different things as well and use different language to address that inner critic as well, which I'm not going to use on here. But yeah, it's that separation. It's understanding that there are different voices. I mean, I like to focus in on identifying the supportive inner voice, the one that wants the best for you. However, it's also important to recognize that inner critic, like you said, name it Vera or what have you, because then you can address it, because acknowledging that voice gives it that space to say, yes, I've heard you. I don't need your interruptions anymore. Thank you very much. Have your cup of tea, have your biscuit, be off with you, or other words to that effect. And just park it. But that acknowledgement of that voice being there is, yeah, as you said, you can take the what is it trying to tell me from it as well, because everything in life is about the lessons, what we learn, what we can learn for ourselves, and how we can reframe, how we can change the way we view that situation, that scenario, that inner voice, because the inner voice will want to pull you back invariably. And it's like, well, what is it? It's almost like a mirror, isn't it? Well, what is it I need to address? What is it I need to look at? However, you can override it, like I've said, by saying, I've heard you, I don't need you, because actually I know that I feel good about myself. And it is about trusting that supportive inner voice, because that will always want what's best for you. Whereas I know the inner critic will keep you safe because it stops you from going, oh, there's traffic there. We don't want to run out in front of that. It's, oh, good point. Not just sort of casually cross the road in front of an architect, but it's there. It has a purpose, but we don't need to be controlled by it. And once you start to understand and you can hear and differentiate, you can take control of the driving seat, because actually we aren't our behavior. We have that ability to distance ourselves, to disassociate, recognize, and choose the path of our choosing. Choose the path of our choosing. That was a bit clumsy, but you know what I'm saying. It's about, what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? What voice has got my back? It's the one that is going to help me move forward. But we can acknowledge the other voice, Vera or otherwise.
Yes, yeah, oh, lovely, Vera.
Good old Vera. Oh, it's somebody I used to work with, his mum was called Vera. We always used to refer to her as Vera Love.
She wasn't a grumpy old lady, was she?
No, Vera Love was lovely. And if Gaynor's listening, oh, how is Vera Love?
And the other thing I want to sort of bring to this is that, and it's really powerful, every situation we find ourselves in is neutral until we give it meaning. So whenever you're about to speak up, just know that that situation is neutral and it's you who decides the meaning for that situation. And those can come from the thoughts that we think or the words that we speak. So be mindful of both of the thoughts that are popping up in your head and inner critic, Vera speaking, and just as much the words that you're using to potentially reinforce that. And it's the meaning that we give that situation, which then obviously determines how we feel about that situation. So if we are in a meeting and we're about to speak up and the thoughts are popping in that are saying, "Ooh, nobody's really going to want to hear what you're saying. What you're about to say doesn't have any value," then the feelings that you're going to start to have are one of, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous, a bit uncertain. Oh, I'm now feeling a bit awkward." And from that, it determines how we show up and the actions we take. So initially, before we even thought anything, we might have been feeling quite confident. Then the thoughts start going, the emotions start bubbling up, and all of a sudden we're showing up feeling like a lack of confidence and as if, well, actually, I don't want to say anything. And as a
Yeah.
result of that, what happens? You either don't say something or you say something and you find that you're fumbling over your words.
I think it's yeah. I mean, everything you've said, Maria, is absolutely true, and it's about not, again, coming back to that mindset and the thoughts. Our thoughts, words, and actions are what impact our external world, which then reflect back and impact our internal world. So it is so important. Always comes back to the self. Everything comes back to the self. So it's about you taking responsibility for your thoughts, words, actions, behaviour. And when I think back to when I trained and qualified as a coach back in 2012, one of the most powerful things that I learnt was reframing. And it is about looking at that language, because the subconscious doesn't recognize a negative. And so it's what we put down. So it's reframing it and putting it into a language that speaks differently. So whatever it is that you are thinking that you don't like, think about what you do like. So always look for that positive reframe in the way that your thoughts are. So if you catch yourself thinking negatively, it's about capturing that, because that's the first point, isn't it? It's capturing that moment and then having something that's anchored in to go, actually, no, trigger, that's a trigger warning. Let's anchor that. Let's come up with an alternative idea. So when I know I've done that, what's the positive reframe? And the power of that is when you practice through writing, because when you write as well, because that's all part of communication, is looking at how you write and how, what words and language that you use, because it can trigger some people if you're using the wrong language, because you know what it's like. You go, I've just been having some situation with a house that I'm trying to relet, and somebody's been to offer it, and their feedback was not acceptable. And you blast out this email just because it's in your head and you want to get it out, and you go, I know that's I can't send that. And it's about then taking that step back and getting it reworded. I sometimes call on my ChatGPT co-pilot and go, can you just tweak that and edit it and go, oh yes, probably don't put raised eyebrow in there or that emoji. But it's all about that language, and it's all about our behavior again, because actually then what we are feeling, as you say, it generates that energy within us, which we then transmit, which can make us feel sort of like, oh my gosh, and then you transmit that because you're anticipating what people are going to think, so that becomes transference and that gets reflected back, and then it's this sort of murky salad mess of all sorts of stuff going on, but actually it comes back to you going, I can speak out. And one of the lessons I learned at school, I'm going back many years, Maria, many years, many decades, was to, if I'd got anything to say, I'd put my hand up first and get my words out first, because actually it's much easier to be the first one to speak than it is to sit there and wait anyway. So then, get your word salad out. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But it is good to be mindful of what it is that you want to say, but don't overthink it. Just get it out. And I think sometimes that I think, crikey, I'm always jumping in with things to say because my brain won't stop whirring, and it's like, oh, I've got something to say. It's forever triggering. And I know, obviously you everybody's different, whether you're an extrovert, introvert, and we learn in different ways. And actually those introverts have got that, they're busy taking and absorbing all the information far more so than us loud ones, because they're absorbing it all. But it's all about speaking up when you feel right to speak up, and don't worry about it, but changing the language, changing your mindset. And actually, if you are getting those sort of butterflies in your stomach, have the reframe of, actually, it's just excitement.
It is. And I remember reading Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule, and she said, we get to decide what that feeling is. We can say, well, is that feeling a nervous feeling, or actually, do I want to decide that feeling is an excited feeling? And just by reframing the feeling changes how we view what's going on outside us. And you're right, you don't have to respond immediately to everything, whether it's written format or when you're talking to people. And one amazing way that's so simple to just give you space is to breathe. So, in those moments where you're about to panic or you're panicking, focus on your breathing. Take 3 deep breaths. And by bringing your focus down, the overwhelm starts to reduce. You can then start to see the wood from the trees, and you can bring yourself back to the moment. Because I know, people who are watching this, listening to this, are going to be saying, yeah, but there's that moment where I feel the anxiety, I feel the pressure, I feel the stress. And then whatever I was going to say, whatever I was going to write, just disappears. And then I don't know how to bring myself back to where I am. And for those of you who are listening and watching to this, please put your comments in the chat box so that we can help you address the types of things that you want us to help you with. And for this to be an interactive discussion, not just myself and Sarah, obviously sharing our experiences.
Yeah, I love Robin's comment about responsibility being responsible. It's gone now. Responsibility, and separating the words. That's great. As responsibility, so you can. Yeah, I really like that. I think that's a clever way of reframing responsibility as responsibility, because it is. You just give yourself that time, and it's and also I think a lot of this comes down to valuing yourself as well, and valuing what you've got to say, because we are all unique individuals at the end of the day, and we've all got different experiences of the world, down to our unique experiences and the way we learn and how we absorb. And even now we're both having different experiences of this live talk based on our previous experiences and our training and our ability to process information. It's just, it's brilliant. I like Robin's got another one in there. Anxiety is excitement without breath. Oh yes, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I really like that too. I mean, it's just the power of words. And I just think it's just wonderful, because when you step into the power of who you are, and if you've got something to say, it is valuable, because you're doing the favor for somebody else that might not have quite got as far as you of wanting to speak. So you speak for people. Quite often there's stuff that I will be listening to and I don't really understand, and if somebody's asking the question on my behalf, I mean, I don't mind making myself sound stupid anyway, so it's not a problem. But I just think there isn't ever a stupid question, because you will always be asking something or commenting on something that somebody else would be wishing that they were saying anyway, because at the end of the day, it's all to do with communication. It's insight, it's motivation, and whatever it is, you will get something out of it by speaking up and speaking out. And once you start to speak, and if you're speaking authentically and you're speaking from the heart and about your own values, your own experiences, you know more than the other person about what you're asking about anyway, because it's relevant to you, but it also might be relevant to other people.
And I want to come back to the point you made about being comfortable being yourself. And I think that's where confidence and communication starts. So rather than looking on the outside, start looking on the inside and really get comfortable in your own skin. Start to understand what your values are, because they are your compass in life. And that if you behave against your values, that's when the pit of your stomach starts to grumble and you're like, oh, this is feeling a bit uncomfortable. So work out what your values are as a way of getting to know yourself. Go back into your childhood and go, well, what did I like to do as a child? What were the things that made me smile? And it's all about fostering that inner confidence, which will then allow you to be confident externally. And so that when you do get a curveball, whether it's maybe an awkward situation or life happens, the fact that you're comfortable with who you are means it's easier to deal with, and you don't start questioning yourself. You can focus on the situation, the curveball.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think the inner work. I mean, a lot of people will hear, I'm sure, that word, the inner work, and maybe they don't even know what does the inner work actually mean. It's that work on yourself, because we are all energy, and experiences and things that happen create blocked energy. If they can be anchored, as good. When something triggers you, it could be music that reminds you of something that was fantastic, and you go, yeah, that was me back in the 80s, because I'm old. Or it could be something that's anchored that's negative, but we can clear all that. So when you start to talk about doing the inner work, and Maria is a master in Reiki, aren't you, Maria?
I've got my part two. I will be a master.
You will be a master. You are a master.
The next bit.
A master in waiting. And that's something else about language as well. Is if you keep future pacing stuff, but if you bring it into the present, like you mentioned right at the start, we are in the present. We only ever have the present. We learn from the past. We can plan for the future, but we don't ever know what's going to unfold from the day ahead. So it's always about bringing it back to the present. But we have this energy. We are energy. We are, I believe, spirit in a human form, that you are learning and you are gaining stuff, but things can get stuck along the way, and you need to kind of clear the pipes. You need to clear the workways for everything to flow properly. And that's where things like Reiki and EFT and all nature of holistic therapies can work by shifting those blocks, because it allows things that you might not know have got stuck to get unstuck. I've had a sudden thought. Do you remember, Maria, the old record players, and they used to get all that fur on the end of the needle? That's the same thing. We get fur balls stuck on our needles that need a good blower.
They make us stuck.
Yes, and it's got, but that's what it's about. I mean, we're a functioning human, but blockages, and again, coming back to the language and how we experience the world, and how things get stuck can cause and manifest physical ailments as much as physical ailments can cause, emotional, mental state changes as well. So it's so important to do that inner work. It's all we've been conditioned by societal and patriarchal pressures that we need to conduct ourselves in a certain way, and that we mustn't speak out unless we're X, Y, and Z. It's rubbish. The perfection is in the imperfection. We've all got something valuable to say. It's all about communication. It's all about collaboration. It's about finding your community, finding your tribe, being with the people that support you. So actually, you can look at that as your negative voice, positive voice. If you've got people trying to pull you down, move away from them, because they're doing that to hold you back, to stop you from progressing forwards. Whereas actually, if you've got your tribe, they're the ones that support you and encourage you to be who you are. And that's how you start to flourish. That's how you start to step out, confidently as yourself. And it's just, somebody's just said they like getting the fur off.
That was Teresa.
Thanks, Teresa. But yeah, it's true. It's just, just being yourself. And it doesn't happen overnight. It can take years. I mean, I didn't realise that I was in a dysfunctional relationship for 20 years and ended up in another one for 5. And then it was just keep on peeling back the layers. And the more you become yourself, the more content you become. And you can sound out all the noise that all of the marketeers and businesses are trying to pressurize you into, you're not going to be successful unless you've got X, Y, and Z. Of course, we don't want to get all political, but obviously so much of this is breaking down now, thankfully. But it's about seeing outside that noise and realizing, and it's taken me a long time to get through that level of intense communication en masse, to stop me, because I've always questioned why do I not want these things? Because I'm being told that, because I'm not materialistic. I don't need these things to make me happy. I'm just happy. I've been out for a run in the woods. Went for a sea swim on the Sunday. They make me happy. Being with friends make me happy. Wearing shiny stuff makes me happy.
More about that. But it's true. It is all about, and that's why, I go back to, it starts with you and knowing your self-worth. Excuse me, because then, you build the confidence to talk with impact. And it's about knowing your self-worth, knowing that actually make your point, and making your point is good enough. It's avoiding filling the airtime because potentially there might be a silence. It's about feeling comfortable, making eye contact because you are comfortable with yourself. And that way you avoid apologizing. And just as importantly as what you say, it's also about what you don't say, how you present yourself and the way you speak. So getting comfortable with yourself helps in that totality of how you present yourself coming forward, so that you can show up feeling really comfortable. And if you've got a point to make, you can make it with ease.
Absolutely. It's not about being egotistical in any way, shape, or form. It's about loving the self, understanding the self. And we are made up of so many different layers, but the more you get to know yourself and the more comfortable you are, and it's, I think back to 20 years ago, how I actually had to sort of start to find myself, because I got divorced at age 39, just as I was entering my 40th year. And my life looks nothing like the life I lead now, because I sort of got, without going into it all, got drawn into something that really wasn't probably me, although I didn't question it because I'm quite an accepting kind of person. but I've had to go on a real journey of exploration. But it's also been a reawakening of what I've always sort of felt, and sort of things that have come. Oh, I'm not just the only person that thinks like that, because you are communicating with other people. You are opening up. You're being curious. You are finding stuff out, because this is something that is really, really important. We have got to maintain and encourage and develop and promote critical thinking, not to be critical of people, but to question, to look between the lines, to look in the unseen, because it's more in the unseen than there is in the seen. And the more you do that, the more you question, the more you start to understand and feel into that supportive inner voice that we were talking about, versus the critical one that's being fed by all the stuff that is effectively noise. The more comfortable you become with yourself, and the more curious you are, the more things you try, the more things that you read, the more you expose yourself to lots of different things, because then it's about you taking out the information that resonates, and then you're just finding your tribe, and you're finding your people, and oh, we could talk about this for hours, Maria. It's just I'm so passionate about it all, because that transformation that takes place once you start to take that responsibility for yourself, and how you communicate and how you turn up your behavior. If we keep on getting the same results, if we keep doing the same thing, we keep getting the same results. And if we are getting problems, you go, and sometimes it might be that we go, oh crikey, I hadn't realized I've been talking like that. Oh blimey, I just by way of an example, I had to learn to communicate with my ex-husband in a different way. So because I was always trying to, the dialogue that we would have would be that he would wrong foot me, and I would go, no, hang on a minute, you've read that completely wrong, because he'd created his own situation that he'd put me in the wrong. And I was then trying to fight my corner, when I latterly learned that you can't reason with some people. So I took out any I stopped responding to anything that might be triggering, and just always used facts, and used to communicate by email, because this is post-divorce, because you don't want to do anything that you end up with is back and forth, because it's not going to achieve anything. You just have to work with the facts and not respond to things that are triggering. Language is so powerful. It's body language. It's how we speak, how we write, how we behave. It's how we turn up, and the communication that we have with ourselves is where it starts.
So we are coming towards the end of our life. I just want to make one point, and this isn't easy. It will be very powerful, and it comes from the author Don Miguel, who wrote the 4 Agreements. And one of the agreements is, don't take things personally, because the way we project ourselves, the way we decide to be here, if we're not comfortable with ourselves, means that potentially we're opening ourselves up to thinking that whatever comes back is personal, when actually it says more about the person that is giving as opposed to you who is receiving. So I encourage everybody to know that try to not take things personally, because actually it's never about you. It's about the individual who is in front of you communicating. And when you can separate yourself, you can then be more confident, because you are grounded. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Before we go though, Sarah, is there anything that you would like to say to our audience, or to offer our audience as a way of staying in your world?
Oh, well, absolutely. All I would like to say is thank you very much, Maria, for having me along. And I completely concur with what you're saying. It's always about the other person. And that's why it's important to take, the lessons yourself, to start to take that responsibility for your own behavior, because whatever you're projecting is, then it's more about you than it is about them. So yeah, I think just be true to yourself, and find out, do that work. And if you find yourself blaming somebody else about something, bring it back to yourself. What is it? What is that telling you? I mean, there is so much, but it's the power of the mindset. But we are mind, body, spirit, that's what we are. And it's looking at all of that holistically. And yes, I mean, if people would like to get in touch, I'm always up for, I've got free 30-minute sessions with people. It's available. Come and have a chat with me if you want any help sort of career-wise, business-wise, because I work with business owners and senior execs, etc. And we just work at everything. So I always love a chat, Maria. You know
I know you
that.
do. I know you do. And from my side, if you've found this beneficial today, then you can work with me for just £20, as I'm running a 60-minute online workshop on the 25th of February, which starts at 12 o'clock GMT time. And it's called Stop Feeling Stuck and Discover What's Really Out of Balance in Your Life. And this is for you if you feel like you are out of balance and yet you don't really know why. It's your opportunity to review your life and see what might not be working. Spaces are limited. There are only a few spaces left, and I will put the details and the link in the chat of this live so you can have a look at your own leisure. And Sarah will also be putting in her links and so on as well, so you can easily catch up with Sarah as well.
Yes. Well, that sounds fantastic, Maria. I ought to do a few of those myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, anything you do, everybody, if you hook on with Maria or you chat to me or anybody, but it's all about that personal development. If you keep doing this, if you keep on getting the same results, you need to change the results. If it's just, you take that step, you take that one step, it will take you further forward. You take that one different route to work or that one different phone call, you do something, it just changes everything. But I can't emphasize enough that power of just being curious and engaging and learning and reading and listening and attending.
Being present.
Indeed, indeed.
And on that note, I'd like to say thank you, Sarah, for joining me today. And thank you to those of you who have been part of this live. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend too.